All right, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining the webinar today. My name is Dhruv Singhal, and I'm the founder of Open Gears as well as a junior at Metea Valley High School. And it's great to see that so many of you guys are interested in listening to the speaker today. And I hope that this event provides you with new insight and new knowledge. I would now like to welcome our speaker today, Sriman Poladi. Sriman is a third-year student at UIC studying industrial engineering and is a graduate of the 2019 class of Metea Valley High School. Sriman has done numerous internships at places like Ripple Match, LK Manufacturing, and has been heavily involved with on-campus activities. Just wanted to remind again that please do not hesitate to ask questions throughout the webinar, whether you decide to unmute or write them in the chat. Thank you so much, Sriman, for taking time out of your busy schedule to help inspire students to pursue your STEM career. And without further ado, please give Sriman your undivided attention and a warm virtual round of applause. Sriman, thank you so much for doing this, and you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, hey Drew, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
So Drew reached out to me about this and I said I'd be very glad to help because I also graduated from Metea Valley. And so I'm a junior at the University of Illinois at Chicago and I'm majoring in industrial engineering. And yeah, let's get this started.
Awesome. Yeah. So just wanted to set a baseline first. If you could just explain what is industrial engineering and why you chose to study it, that would be great.
All right, yeah. So industrial engineering, I feel like is something that's like very hard to define for a lot of people. And when it comes down to it, it's basically something where people are trying to improve a process or like a system or an organization. And they would do this by creating like a better process or improving a process. And they do this through like information, knowledge, other equipment. And it's usually central to manufacturing operations, but it can be used in many other industries as well, because obviously improvement is like you see it everywhere. It's not just in business or in engineering, and they find ways to like eliminate waste and just try to make something like as perfect as possible pretty much. And so I chose industrial engineering because of this reason. I really saw like a lot of things around me. I like look at it and I'm like, wait, there's probably a better way to do this. And I realized like I could try to improve this, or like my goal to like improve something, I can apply it to my career and my profession later down in the line.
So, what kinds of processes or viewpoints do you look at stuff in order to determine how you can make things more efficient? Like, through what lens do you examine things? If you get what I'm saying.
Well, first, usually it's just like I just look at it like, for example, let's say when you're, we'll do something easy. Like we're say writing with a pencil, like a pencil. It's pretty annoying that like the tip breaks. You have to keep going to sharpen it. So then you look how okay, how could I make this like eliminate that wasteful time where you're wasting the time to go sharpen the pencil and make it faster. So then you realize you can use a mechanical pencil. So something like that. It can be very basic like that.
I see. I see. So, what kinds of projects and internships have you participated in throughout your years at UIC? Can you talk a little bit more about those experiences?
Yeah, so I could I'm trying to make sure I do this in a chronological time. So let's see. First, before I got into college, I got offered this thing where it was like preparing for engineering courses at UIC. It was called a prep ME class. And in this class, we just had like multiple projects, and one of the projects was that I was in was a hip replacement project. So the issue was that every like 20 years, when you get a hip replacement, you the material they use only lasts like around 20 years, and the average age for most people when they get a hip replacement is around 50 years, and then doing it again at like 70, 80 years is very tough on their bodies. So trying to figure out better materials, better ways to like use hip replacement surgery and help that elderly. Then around halfway through my freshman year, like around December, January, I just started emailing some professors, and one of the other projects I was working on was working on novel carbon capture technologies. So right now, everyone knows like pollution, environmental, like affects the environment, and so we were trying to figure out an artificial like system that could take in dioxide and return out oxygen. So we were doing this through an artificial leaf, and I was working with the professor on how to make this. Then sophomore year, I was part of this club called Chicago Hyperloop. For those of you guys who don't know Hyperloop, a Hyperloop is basically a faster form of transportation, kind of like how a train gets you from point A to point B, but instead the actual pod or the vehicle of transportation does not go on like rails or anything. So it's and the top speed for this theoretically could be around 750 miles per hour. This competition was started off by Elon Musk, and so I was working on the suspension team, and now I'm currently the treasurer. Also, during the summer this year, I was a project management intern at LK. So for that, what I had to do was work with multiple other interns on a project on how to improve our current supply chain system and like how they rate and evaluate their process, and then see if there's a better method to evaluate the process and streamline it for other employees so they understand like how the supply chain is doing as well. We also worked on multiple other projects. One of the projects, there was a problem with country of origin, which is basically like when you get a lot of manufacturing tools together, you want to know where they come from. And sometimes most places just say like one thing that says made in China, but not every single part that you see from that box is actually made in China. Like some of those parts are made in like Vietnam or like Thailand. So understanding like how to streamline that process in the manufacturing and like in the distribution centers. And then also, as Duve said earlier, I'm also an intern for Ripple Match, which is a website kind of like LinkedIn, how it helps you to get internships. And basically, with that, it's the opposite way where you just create a profile and you put your resume on the website, and then they'll come to you with matches that other companies are interested in. So you don't have to actively go search like on LinkedIn or like Indeed.
That's great. That's great. That's great that you have been dipping your toes in so many fields in order to apply your industrial engineering skills. That's awesome. So, can you talk a little bit more about what kinds of classes you've taken in college? I know you mentioned about your like some introduction to engineering class related to your like hipster review project. Can you talk a little bit more about like the other kinds of classes you've taken at UIC?
So yeah, so engineering is a lot of physics. So I've taken a lot of like physics courses. I've taken financial engineering. That's a big one. Engineering design, probability, statistics, and then you also have to do a lot of math. So applied linear algebra, calculus one, calculus two, obviously. You also have to do some business classes. So introduction to management, introduction to organizations, also electrical circuit analysis. And right now I'm taking like operations research, safety engineering, manufacturing process principles, regression analysis, and differential equations.
Oh wow, it's quite advanced. What's been your favorite class so far?
Um, I'd like to say financial engineering. That was pretty fun. It was so I really like math, and so I really like working with formulas, and it was really fun with financial engineering because I got to see like real like manufacturing problems with the math, and then like how to like solve like what is the actual like value for this, what is the value for that, and is it actually a worthy investment? Like should we buy this machine? Would this actually like help us in the long run, or would it be better to like have workers instead?
Oh, wow. So is financial engineering just essentially deriving the cost of certain processes and just
Yeah, yeah,
realizing the impact on the company's finance?
yeah, basically.
Oh wow, it's really cool. So are you more interested in like the business side of things?
Yeah, I would say I'm more interested in the business side of things, and that is basically also in a way what industrial engineering is. A lot of people call industrial engineering the business, like business engineering. And so that is where that would be too. Yeah.
I see. So what kinds of skills do you think are most important that one should know in order for one to pursue industrial engineering, both technical and soft skills?
Yeah. I would say technical wise, you should know a good amount of like financial skills, just because when you work with like trying to improve processes and people, you want to know like how much it costs to like improve this process, or would it be better to improve that process in that way. You would also want to understand like profit loss statements, financial modeling, some mathematical modeling, business math. That would be like the technical area. You also want to make sure that you have like a basic understanding of other things, just because when you're working with improving a process, you're going to work with a lot of different people in different roles. So you want to like have introductory knowledge in like some computer science as well. You also want to make sure like you understand how to use Excel and all of that area of like formulas in Excel. And then some non-technical skills I would say that's very important is communication and just being open-minded, making sure that like you're open to whatever is happening, and that like realizing that you're not always going to be an expert at some of the things that you work with. Like when you're working with other people, or let's say I'm the industrial engineering and you're the the computer science person, and I need you to code something for this process. I can't be like talking to you about your job. You're the expert in your area. So you're gonna have to be telling me like what to do. And I'm gonna have to be okay with that I'm not the expert and I'm not the boss of you. That's something that's very important, I would say. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I do agree as well that communication is really important, and not just industrial engineering, but like almost every field that you can go into. Just being able to communicate with different people and learn their positions on things. That's awesome. So going switching gears to high school, what you did in high school, did you take any classes or do any research or internships or any extracurriculars that made you more interested in pursuing industrial engineering?
To be honest, in high school, I really didn't do much. I just did BPA, which I think everyone does. So in BPA, I did financial analyst team and entrepreneurship. And I guess that's where my interest in business comes from, like at least doing like the entrepreneurship aspect. And then I also was in STEM club where I participated in the science fair and we had a bottle rocket challenge. But more in high school, I was just not really like seeing what I was interested in. I knew I had an interest for like chemistry and math. So actually, I was pursuing chemical engineering at the start because I had that interest in math and science. But then as I was like doing all these other projects like freshman year, started to realize that like I was more interested in wanting to like improve processes.
So would you be interested in like working in a chemical department maybe later on in your field, later on in your career goals?
Yeah, I think I still have a passion for chemistry, and like I said, industrial engineering can pretty much be used in any industry, just because there's a process to a lot of things. There's a process everywhere, mainly manufacturing, because the process for manufacturing is like in an assembly line or something else that's very like, it's going from point A to like point B, but then you want to know how is like going from that start to the finished product, which is happening in a lot of manufacturing processes.
Okay. Did you take like AP Comp Sci or AP Chemistry as well?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I can't remember all the AP classes I took, but yeah, I did take AP computer science, AP calculus, AP chemistry, AP psychology. So a lot of the APs, and I would encourage like a lot of other people to take AP classes just because it helped me. Like when I came into freshman year with the credits I had, I was almost at a sophomore year level at that point.
Wow. So do you plan on graduating early then?
What I plan to do is either pick up a minor or look for like co-ops.
Oh. So can you explain a little bit more about what co-ops are?
So co-ops are basically a full-time internship where it's for 40 hours a week, and you would basically take a break semester and you would just work at the place that you got a co-op.
Oh, so it's like you kind of alternate semesters of classes and then like full-time work.
Yeah, yeah, basically. So like over the summer, how you get an internship is basically that internship full time, but then you would get it during the school year. And because you're working like the 40 hours during the school year, like you would not be able to do classes.
And what minor would you be interested in pursuing? Would it be something
Um,
business related?
I think it would either be business related or something like math even, or even like psychology, just because like when you work with a lot of people, you want to know how to understand people, and I feel like psychology really help with that.
I see. So, like, my golden question is, what is your biggest piece of advice to students who want to learn more and be involved in industrial engineering? Like, what should students be focusing on right now if they want to pursue industrial engineering later on?
I would say just try out a lot of different things, see what's interesting to you, because it's better to be proactive, and that way you'll know what you like, and just go out there and explore a lot of things. Like all the things that I said, my experiences, a good amount of them are not engineering related too. So that was very nice. I got to dip my feet into other things and she realized that like I don't like this. So then I could narrow my options down to what I actually like. Another piece of advice I would say in general, if that would that be okay too? Or
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
okay, so I would say another one is just networking. A lot of what I would do is I would just message people on LinkedIn, like, could we talk for 30 minutes? I would love to know like more about what you do in your field, and then see if that like if what they tell me is something that I would like to like do in my future.
Awesome. And do you recommend any particular resources that students can use to, learn new skills and, find more information about industrial engineering?
Um, well, we'll start off with learning new skills. So a lot of there's actually a lot of knowledge online, and I don't think a lot of people take advantage of it. There's a lot of online courses. There's this place called Coursera where you can do college level courses and learn more about like computer science. There's even LinkedIn Learning. There's also other websites that give you virtual internships. And I know you said you were a CS major, so there's a lot of like open source projects online that you could just work with and like improve your knowledge on computer science, and then also gets you experience on your resume saying that I was proactively looking for a project and I did this. And then for industrial engineering in general, I don't have any like links or anything, but I could drop links on like the Coursera thing I was talking about and LinkedIn Learning and the virtual internships. If I could drop that in the chat, or do you want me to email them to you, or how would you do that?
You can drop in the chat.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And just, while you do that, like what kinds of courses on Coursera or LinkedIn Learning did you do?
For me on LinkedIn Learning, I just looked at like what would be interesting and then look at like what my like long-term goals are, and then see in that way like what would help that. So like I said, I really want to improve my people skills. So I did a lot of like working with people classes like on LinkedIn Learning. I did leading a customer centric culture, and some other things that I did was uh business process improvement, and then also learning about like new technologies, so artificial intelligence tools and concepts, just making sure that I have at least a surface level understanding of all these other things just in case I'm interested in something else, so that way like I already have a good like start on where it is, what it is.
Right. Yeah, the internet provides like so many resources, like you said, on the internet. And I think that if we can take more advantage of it, then we can learn a lot more. And like you said, Coursera and LinkedIn Learning are indeed great platforms for students and other people who want to learn more about, developing these soft and technical skills and just learning more about fields in particular.
Yeah, and the places that I said, they're actually free too. So you don't have to pay for a lot of these places too. There's a lot of knowledge that is also very like free. With Coursera at least though, the classes are free, but to get a certification that you completed the class is does cost money. The
Yeah.
first website that I sent though is the one that has like virtual internships, and that is free.
Yeah. The Farage, right? Farage.
Yeah, Forage.
Forage. All right. Yeah, and then my final question before I open it up to the audience is, what do you enjoy the most about industrial engineering?
I think just looking at something and then saying like, oh, there you can improve it, I can improve it this way, and then working on how to improve it, going through a process of the steps to go through on how to improve it, and then looking at it and being like, yeah, I helped improve this thing or product.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sriman, for the information. I'll now open it up to the audience for a Q&A. Anyone? All right, so we have a question in the chat. Are there any programming courses that you have taken as part of industrial engineering?
So I'm pretty sure this is for every engineering like college. So even at U of I or like UMich or like Purdue or anywhere, all engineers are expected to take at least like one or two computer science courses to graduate. And that course usually varies by like college. Like at U of I could be they want you to learn Java. Here it is the computer science courses that you have to take here are in the languages of Python and MATLAB.
And have you done coding as part of like in your internships or the different projects you've worked on? Have you had
Um,
stuff?
no, I have not. There's definitely like with uh for example, like with Chicago Hyperloop, I said I was on the suspensions team. There's other teams that do use coding, and I plan on like doing that next semester. So just so I could get understand some coding, as that's something that I'm very interested in as well.
Awesome. Does anyone else have any questions for our speaker today? Let's maybe wait for like a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
All right, so for process improvements, what platforms do you use typically?
Usually there's this one process that's called Lean Six Sigma, which is kind of like the basic processes on how like engineers go about improving something.
So can you talk a little bit more about that Lean Six Sigma belt? What exactly that is?
So, usually this is not like an actual course. This is like a certification, and as you like when you start going into college, you'll realize that like a lot of people they want to get certifications in other things just to show that they're knowledgeable because college is obviously is not the only way to learn things. And so with Lean Six Sigma, I've only taken like an introductory course, so I don't know much about it as well. There's usually there's different levels in it. So there's like a green belt, there's a yellow belt, there's a black belt, and yeah.
And is this the primary certification that one needs if they want to go into industrial engineering, or are there other types of certifications out there?
Yeah, there's other types of certifications, but for at least industrial engineering, it's Lean Six Sigma that I would say is the very like most important one that would look nice on your resume.
All right, awesome. Anyone else have any questions for our speaker? Can wait a couple more seconds. All right, so we have a question in the chat. Like, at what point did you realize that you wanted to do industrial engineering?
I would say after my freshman year. Coming into freshman year, I wasn't really knowing what I wanted to major in, but I knew I really liked chemistry and math. So I chose chemical engineering. And then after that, I started to realize like I'm also interested in like business and improving processes in general, like instead of just working on chemistry. So I transferred to the industrial engineering major.
And I don't know whether I've already asked this question, but was there anything particular about the campus of UIC and its opportunities that stood out to you when applying?
You have not asked this, but I think one of the main pros is being close to home. So I still live in the Materia area, and so being it's a 40-minute train ride, which is really nice. Like if I ever miss my parents or something, I can always go home like any day pretty much. So that is really nice. Like a lot of people when they go to college, they want to be like, yeah, I want to go really far away from my parents. But then once you go to college, you realize like it's actually pretty nice to have your parents there once in a while. And then another thing that UIC does that's special to UIC is GPIP, which is guaranteed uh, placed internship program. And so basically, if you have a GPA above 3.2 or 3.25 after your freshman year, you're guaranteed a research position or an internship position for that summer, unless you can find one like after freshman year by yourself. This is usually hard for freshmen just because there's not that much you can have on your resume after a freshman. So that was very beneficial.
And is that for like every year? So like if you have a GPA higher than 3.2 for your sophomore year, then you're guaranteed a internship for junior year as well.
This is just for freshman year.
Oh,
And I think that's just because like after you get that first piece of experience, getting the second like internship or second experience is so much easier.
right. Was there anything else about USC that stood out, or was it those two primary things?
I would say it was those two primary things.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Anyone else have any questions for a speaker? Awesome. So thank you again, Sriman, for taking time out of your busy schedule to help inspire us to pursue your STEM career. Industrial engineering is like you said, it's a very versatile field. You can apply the principles of trying to make processes more efficient in almost any field, especially like you said in manufacturing and even in other fields like chemical engineering and the business operations too. And I hope that our viewers out there learned a lot from listening to Sriman today. And yeah, if everyone could please give Sriman a virtual round of applause, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you, Dhruv.
Awesome.